You're listening to the Confidence Coach Podcast, episode 94, saying no to diet culture and yes to intuitive eating, an interview with Amanda Murphy. All right, ladies, welcome back to another episode of the Confidence Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Sasha Davis, and today I have Amanda Murphy with me here. She is an intuitive eating counselor and a women's empowerment coach. So I'm super excited to have her on the show today. We're going to learn a lot more about what intuitive eating is and how she can help empower you. So Amanda, I'll let you go ahead and take the floor.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks for having me. But yes, I am an intuitive eating counselor and empowerment mentor for women. And I definitely help women who struggle with that yo-yo dieting. They're going back and forth through restrictive dieting, and then they find themselves maybe binge eating, and they just can't find what they're calling is their balance. And I really help them bust out of that cycle, stop listening to external sources, and really tune back into themselves, their body, their mind, all of it. And intuitive eating goes way beyond just food and what we're eating and what we're putting into our body, because there is so much more to our health. Intuitive eating is really a mind-body integration of our instincts, our emotions, our rational thought, all of it. And it's a personal process of honoring our health by listening to our body. But through all of the messages that society and diet culture have been putting out into this world for so long, we have kind of learned how to not do that. And it can be really hard. And women find themselves in this place of going back and forth through restricted dieting, binging, and that really not so fun, frustrating place. So I help women learn how to get back to that balance, to that happy place of just being free in their body, in their mind, and being able to live their life fully empowered.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's funny because I can totally agree with the yo-yo dieting and like the diet culture, because before I found personal development, mindfulness, and learning just to love myself, I would bounce back and forth like, ooh, what's the next thing that's going to make me lose 10 pounds? And, everybody's real quick to slam a drink or to take a pill, but to actually listen to what your body is telling you is hard. And there's not a lot of mainstream culture, I would say, that teaches you those things. So tell me, how did you get into this?
I got into this with really my own personal experience. I can think back to as far as being maybe 10, 12 years old and having a lot of disordered thoughts around food, how I should be eating, my body, my weight, and all of that. And I think a lot of girls, once they start in that preteen age, middle school, high school, especially, a lot of that is where you experience all that. And so through my own personal experience, eventually it just kept building up and building up. And then I found myself in my early 20s, and that's when it really ramped up, listening to diet culture, like you said, trying to find that next thing that's going to help me find my happiness. I was basically waiting to find my happiness, waiting to start living my life until I got my body where I thought it needed to be, where society and diet culture was telling me it needed to be. And it was never successful. Diets don't work. And it obviously wasn't working. I was binge eating. I was hating my body, hating my life, just yo-yoing back and forth, and nothing was going right. Literally, that's how it felt. And one day, about 2 years ago, I just said, I can't live like this. Like, there has to be a different way. And then I also thought that if it has to come down between me looking like, the girls in the magazines or the girls on TVs, the bodies that society's portraying as like the ideal beauty, if it has to come down between living life fully, enjoying it, happy, or looking like that, then I'm done. I give up. I choose being happy and enjoying my life. And then I actually picked up a book, and it's called Secrets from the Eating Lab. And it is literally a life-changing book. And it's so science-driven, so research-driven about why diets don't work, a lot of disordered eating habits, things like that. And that really spiraled me into looking into this stuff and led me to intuitive eating. And that's when I learned that, you know, health at every size does exist. And, you know, I don't have to sacrifice anything in life to be healthy and to enjoy my life. Like, you can actually have it all. And I don't need to listen to everybody else. It literally was like the weight was lifted and I felt like I got my power back. Like, I was now empowered to not only enjoy food without guilt, because who doesn't love food, and just start living my life. I started removing all those blocks that I put on myself, and I felt so liberated. I said, if I can do this, I know that I'm not the only person who's ever felt like that. I want to help other women feel this way too. Like, we all need to live this way. We all need to just start stepping into our authentic selves, enjoying food without guilt, and just living our flipping lives. So
it's okay to drop F-bombs if you feel
good,
if you feel like dropping an F-bomb is totally cool.
Yeah, good.
Okay,
but, yeah.
so tell me, Secrets from the Eating Lab, right? Do you know who the author is on that?
Let me see if I can grab it real quick.
Okay. While you're trying to grab that, I find it so interesting when I started, you know, and then I want you to kind of tell us a little bit more about this book and how it really just gave you permission to do what felt good for you and your body versus listening to outside sources, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that I was very similar in that. And it was almost like the weight that you wanted to lose started to come off for me when I started focusing on how I wanted to feel versus what I thought everybody else thought I should be doing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while intuitive eating is not a weight loss method, it doesn't promise any type of weight loss at all. A lot of people, once they heal their relationship with food and their body, can experience weight loss over time. And, you know, that's just a result of having that healthy relationship with food and your body settling back into its happy place, because we all have a certain happy place and they're unique to ourselves. Each individual has a unique different set point, but sometimes that happens. And it's just because you're just healthier and happier.
So how would you describe what intuitive eating is to somebody who is in the diet culture and maybe not sure what intuitive eating entails?
Okay. So intuitive eating is literally a mind-body integration. It is taking the messages from your body and from your mind and basically smushing them together to help you achieve overall health and happiness for you. Because when you think about health, an overall healthy human being, we have more than just our physical body. We have our mind and we have a mental health as well, which we have to honor and nurture just like our physical body. So intuitive eating really works to help you listen to all of those cues and messages that your body is trying to give you. Because by dieting for so many years and listening to external sources, we forget. Our body, literally the signals in our body they quiet down actually. So we don't even know what they sound like anymore. So intuitive eating helps you learn to hear them and recognize them and honor them again, so that you can not only enjoy life every day, but you're still honoring your health and you're honoring your mental health as well. So you're not stressed out about what you're eating. You're not stressed out about your body image and things like that. And it's founded on 10 principles that really help build the foundation and kind of give you a place to turn to, which you don't have to do them in order. You don't even have to do all of them at once. It's literally like a completely personalized journey, but it really just gets you back to listening to your body. It puts you back in the driver's seat and you get to decide.
That's awesome. So what do you feel out of these 10 principles, what one stood out to you the most, or what one was the biggest change for you?
Oh, the biggest one that I think, because they're all crazy, but is probably the first one, which is reject the diet mentality. That's the first principle that's discussed in the book. But if you aren't at a place where you can reject the diet culture mentality, then it's hard to move on and to progress. And I think once you do that, once I achieved that, there's no looking back. It's not like it becomes easy by any means, or that there's no roadblocks, but it literally is like the match lighting the fire, because you just know that once you solidify in that principle where you know that you can't go back, the ball is rolling and it's not stopping.
So let's talk about diet culture a little bit, and tell me your experience, like specifically with diet culture. And is there like one story that was just, I mean, that's just so burned in your brain that you're like, I never want anybody else to go through this?
Oh yes. It always led to worth when it came to diet culture. In my experience, it always led to worth, that like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy enough. I wasn't valued enough, respected enough, pretty enough, you name it, fill in the blank with anything, until I got my body where I thought it should be, until I looked like so-and-so, and I kept tying that message into literally every area of my life. So it's like, well, I'll go after that goal when I lose X amount of pounds so that I'm finally worthy enough. Or, I'll ask that guy out on a date when I finally lose the weight, because then, he'll actually like me then. And it was this message of tying my worth to my outward appearance and my weight and my body. And, and I never want another human being to feel that, because it's a horrible feeling, because we are born completely worthy of everything, worthy of love, respect, all of it. And it's a horrible feeling. And I really don't want anybody else to feel that way. And I know that they are. So I want to fix that, hands down.
Oh yeah, I feel you there. So it sounds like you were your biggest critic. Would you say that that's true, or would you say that you had some outward critics too? Like, because I know that there's some people where they're, that diet culture or, the eating disorders or a certain mentality comes from, parents or peers or certain groups that they're in. Would you say that has had an effect, or would you say that it's just a lot of inward, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but when you put those expectations on yourself? Yeah.
No, I definitely think it's all society's doing. I mean, society and diet culture are fully to blame, because all of us, women and men, but we live in this world where it's everywhere that we look, magazines, TV, and then, you hear older adults talk about it. So when you're younger, that's what you're hearing, that's what you're absorbing. So literally, you could be 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and you're absorbing that, and that becomes your mentality. And I think that's really where it came from. I did have a rocky relationship with my father, and there was some verbal abuse when I was younger. As I got older and as my father, aged, he got better and that relationship healed. But I'm sure I know that had some influence as well. But between the combination of that and just our society, going to school and high school, seeing like girls, they kind of click themselves off, group themselves off kind of. And
oh yeah,
just the society we live in, it really perpetuates that if you're not this, then you're not as worthy, you're less than. And I feel like if you don't have a very strong system when you're younger and when you're being exposed to these things, it's easy just to spiral into that and just to hear it and be like, yeah, you're right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's easy to get caught in that spiral. It's like that negative spiral, right? So it starts and then and then it's just like you get sucked in, and then you start feeling bad about yourself. And then you start looking for validation to feel bad about yourself. And then, everybody says
Absolutely.
Like when it rains, it pours. And so it's really hard to get out of that. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started to, you said 2 years ago you found this book and started to make this shift, but what was the biggest challenge for you?
By the way, that book is by Tracy Mann.
Tracy Mann. Cool.
Yeah. And it is an excellent book, but I think it was a combination of just like the frustration of like, I kept telling myself, well, when XYZ happens, but it's like XYZ either never happened, or when it did, I made a new reason. I made a new excuse. And so it was a combination of the frustration of, well, when are you just going to start living your life? When are you going to start? Because you don't want to be like, we all heard kind of like this metaphor that you don't want to be on your deathbed and look back and regret all the things you didn't do. But it's like, I really took that to heart. I really started internalizing it. And in the combination of being so fed up with trying to diet, trying to follow the masses with this diet culture BS, and just literally getting to my breaking point, it just, I just literally couldn't do it anymore. And I said, you know what, I got one shot at this. I got one life. Tomorrow's not promised. What do I have to lose? It literally was like, what do I have to lose? And that was that.
Oh, I love that. So what steps did you take? Did you just start doing stuff on your own? Did you enroll in a course? Kind of tell us about your journey once you decided like enough's enough.
I definitely immersed myself in the research. Going back to what I said about rejecting the diet culture mentality, I literally immersed myself in the research on diets, all the studies and all the evidence in that realm. And it really just lit a spark. And I did all the inner work on my own. And it probably would have been, actually, I know it would have been very beneficial for me to hire somebody or work with somebody through it. But for some reason, I don't know why, I decided I was going to do it myself. I, got the book Intuitive Eating by Elise Resch and Evelyn Tribbley, and did the work myself. And I think because I have that like natural, like leader, teacher type instinct in me, I learn best and I kind of work through my stuff by helping others work through their stuff. It's like we're helping each other. And so that's kind of, as I was working through my journey, decided I need to get certified, get the proper education so that I can properly help other women do this too. So I did a lot of the dirty work myself, which can be kind of scary.
Oh yeah, that could be real scary. So walk us through the moment when you're like, oh my God, I can help other people.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I can't really think.
No, I think that's awesome because you're just like, I'm going to go get certified and I'm going to do this. So I'm just curious when that mental shift started to happen where you're like, okay, not only am I helping myself, but I'm going to start helping other people and make this a business.
I think it was because I was so disgusted by what I finally saw. And I realized it was like literally within a couple days or a couple weeks, it's like I was starting to live a whole different life. And it's like the blinders literally came off. Somebody took off the blindfold and it was just a whole new world. And I was like, I don't know. I think I was just so motivated and so fired up and so at the same time disgusted by this whole other world of diet culture and all these things that they're telling women. And I was just so motivated that I just felt like I'm not doing myself justice. I'm not doing this world justice. And I'm definitely not doing anybody else any justice by not reaching out, stepping up, and helping other women. It was a fire inside of me that said, I have to freaking do this.
Yep. I listened to a podcast. Oh, it's probably been a few months ago now, but when you feel so passionate about something, you just feel compelled to share it. And she was saying, oh, if you had the cure for cancer, you would go up to every single person and say, I have the cure for cancer, So I found that was very, very powerful. But so tell me, did you start with like a group? Did you start a podcast or did you just start sharing your story? Like what was the natural progression from you gearing up for a business?
I started with an Instagram and I just started kind of sharing my personal feelings, my story and things like that. And, the more I learned, the more I grew in my own personal journey, the more I shared. And over time, it started to shift from just me sharing my personal stories and feelings and all that to kind of the educator teacher role, which of course I still share all of my stories. I'm very real and open. But over time, it just shifted. The more I learned and grew, the more I felt empowered and able to help others.
So did you just develop a course or how do you work with people now?
Currently, I work one-on-one coaching. I'm definitely looking into some type of group mentorship. That's definitely in the works, but currently I work on a one-on-one basis since everybody's journey is totally different, where we need to start, where we need to go, what's first to work on, things like that. It's totally different because where everybody's coming from, how long they've dieted, their past traumas, past experiences, that's so different. A one-on-one can be so impactful and so powerful.
Yeah. So I'm curious, this just came to my head. Do you feel like men struggle with diet culture too? Or like in your research and in your education, do you find that men struggle with this too, or is it mostly just women?
Oh, absolutely. Men do. And I feel like in a sense that I don't know who's at the disadvantage, I guess, men or women, because I feel like with women, and this is just my personal opinion, with women, it's kind of like the fact that we're body shamed and all of this stuff is going on is kind of like outwardly talked about now. You know, anytime you scroll through Instagram or whatever, you can find someone talking about this anti-diet culture BS and all of that and body shaming. And I have come across a few accounts on Instagram, but it's not mentioned. Like men just aren't mentioned. And they don't get to escape it. They're, just as much of a victim as we are. And I feel like it's even kind of worse for them in the sense that nobody or not a lot of people are talking about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was having this conversation as far as like confidence in men go, because, I have this conversation with my husband and then a few other guys where men feel like they can't say something because, oh, I'm less of a man if I feel like I need help in this or if I can't control that. So
yeah, definitely.
But I want to talk about body shaming for a minute because I still see it a lot.
Yes.
And I'm curious where you see it most often and if you feel like you have to say something or do you just kind of avoid that?
Like if I see other women actively currently like in the moment body shaming themselves, it absolutely depends on if I know the person, what level do I know this person. That definitely matters if whether or not I'll say something. But even regardless, I kind of just ask a question, like why do you feel that way? Something along those lines, because regardless of how well I know this person and what relationship we have, just getting the person to ask themselves, well, like, where is this coming from? Like, why am I thinking this? Like, what truth does this have? Asking them why, it kind of gets their wheels turning. And I'm not, by asking why, like insinuating anything. It's just kind of like an innocent, harmless question, but it can be very powerful. So that's usually what I do.
Yeah. Do you see it most often online or do you see it out in public or do you see people shaming other people?
Kind of in public and in person. It's crazy where it sneaks up. Just in random conversation, once you're really aware of it, you can see where it sneaks up. You could be talking about something totally kind of in left field, and just a few words that somebody uses, like their choice of wording, can really be like, oh, they must, that comes from a body shame place, or that comes from like a place where they're like an insecurity type of a place. And I wish I could think of a prime example, but I'm not, nothing's coming up. But yeah, no, it sneaks up in crazy places.
Yeah, I hear people say a lot of times like, oh, I wish I looked like that, or it'd be nice if I was that size, or, oh, I could never run that race, or I could never do that. Or they automatically disqualify themselves based on the way they view themselves right now. And I do think it comes from, that sense of insecurity, that lack of self-worth on the inside.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about self-worth a little bit. I believe even myself, I struggled with a lot of this stuff, feeling not worthy, not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough. Hell, I was hesitant to even start a podcast because I'm like, I sound like a man. Like nobody's going to listen because I sound like a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all that inner lack of confidence, that inner lack of self-worth. And when you can start to embrace who you are and not put yourself in this box, or this box that society puts you in or thinks that you need to be a part of, right? You can start stepping into that power, into that authentic self. So can you tell us a little bit about your confidence journey, your self-worth journey?
Yes. Well, first off, I declared, like, who gets to decide? Like, I wish I could remember where I was, but I remember clearly starting to ask myself, like, who gets to decide? Like, who fucking said that I had to do this? Like, who said I had to feel this way? Like, who said I had to be this way? Who gets to decide my life for me? And that's when I started taking back my power and really questioning everything. And instead of starting to look, or I guess I should say, instead of continuing to look outside myself for what I should be doing, how I should be acting, how I should be behaving, all of that stuff for that validation, I started looking inward and really starting to do the dirty work. And, you know, it takes time, and there's still days that it's harder than others, but started to dig deep within and ask myself, I'm the only person who needs to like myself. And what do I like about myself? What to me is the person I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who am I? And I just started asking myself the silly, hard questions. And there was a lot of freaking tears, a lot of ugly things came up, you know, things you didn't want to realize about yourself. And it became a lot of self-awareness and making a conscious decision that if I didn't like something, I had to change it. And I'm not talking about like physical body appearance, but who I am. If I don't like to be that girl that sits in the back and doesn't have enough courage to ask the questions she wants or to speak up and share her voice, well, I have to be aware of that. I have to be aware that I don't like it. I have to be aware that I'm continuing to do it. And that it's, at the end of the day, it's kind of a choice to still be that way. And I'm going to have to do it until I'm, you know, comfortable with it. Yeah, the first time I do it, I'm probably going to be scared shitless. I might want to pee my pants. I might have a panic attack. I might fall on my face. But guess what? I'm one step closer, even if I fell on my face, with being that woman that I want to be and having the feelings and being and feeling totally like that woman I am and want to be. And the more you do it, the more you embody her.
Yep. It's facing your fears and learning just to fail forward. A lot of people are so scared of failure. And I think the older we get, the more society says like failure is not okay. You know, when you're younger, it's almost expected to fail, but then somewhere along the lines of, I'm going to say elementary, because once you start getting graded on things, like if you fail, then what? You know, I've heard of, and not to get off topic here, but I've heard of like school systems that will have everybody retake tests until everybody passes, right? So it's like we move on as a team thing versus like, oh, big fat F, you fail, you suck, whatever. You know, like it's not okay to fail. And so we've been conditioned at a very early age to fear failure. And then we get to a point in our lives where it keeps us so stuck. You know, like our fears a couple hundred years ago were literally life or death fears, you know, versus now it's just fear of speaking up, fear of being yourself, fear of taking action, right? And when you can start to overcome those fears, and you just learn to fail forward. Like it's okay to fail. Like that's how we learn, or at least that's how I learn. I'm assuming everybody else kind of learns from their failures too. But when it comes to failure and just putting yourself out there, what do you think is the number one thing that stops people?
Well, I think honestly that could be a little different for everybody. But I think a lot of it comes down to like, it's a fear of something. And sometimes that's a fear of failure. Sometimes maybe that's a fear of how somebody's going to react or respond. I think it could be a few different things, or it could be you don't feel good enough. It's kind of like an imposter syndrome. Like you feel too lacking of something to do it. But it comes down to you're afraid of something. You're afraid of something. And I feel like if we really just asked ourselves, we would know what it is. Because it's like a big elephant in the room. Like we clearly, if we just took 5 seconds, we would probably be able to figure it out, what we're afraid of and what's stopping us from just taking that next step forward. And it's usually not as easy to overcome as it is to identify, but it's usually a fear of something.
Yeah, I like to use fear as like a compass now, where I'm like, ooh, if that's scary, I should probably head that direction versus running away from it. So it's like, ooh, am I scared to ask this question right now? I should probably ask this question. Ooh, am I afraid to go into the gym. Oh, I should probably go into the gym. Oh, am I afraid to write this and learn this about myself? Oh, I should probably do that then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you talk about a lot of the stuff that you've done on your own. What personal development tools did you use, and what do you still do to this day?
Definitely sitting with myself. And I'm not a very good meditator, so I wouldn't call it meditation, but I sit with myself. Sometimes, like when I'm driving, I will make like no music, no podcast, no nothing, and just drive, because that's when a lot of things, whatever's in my mind or weighing heavy on my heart, usually comes to the surface. Or like before I go to bed, I'll purposely lay in bed, total silence, no phone, no nothing, for 15, 20 minutes prior to falling asleep, because that's when the things really surface. I've tried to journal and I just suck at it. I can't do it. So that's really what helps me, that, and continuing to read different books and listen to different podcasts. That's what really helps me move forward. Because if I'm not looking inward with myself and asking myself, okay, Amanda, what's going on in your inner world? Like, how are you feeling? What do you need? What do you need right now? What do you need moving forward? That's when I think things start to feel shaky. The boat starts to rock.
Yeah. So do you have a morning routine or an evening routine or anything like that?
Not really a morning routine, but the evening routine, definitely, it's just that little 15 to 20 minutes before I go to bed to literally sit with myself, just be quiet and let things surface. And then sometimes if I do feel the need, if whatever comes up is pretty heavy and I feel like, oh, I need to write this down, I will get up and I will write it out to get it out of my head, literally like get it out. Because that is such a powerful translation. But I know a lot of people have like routines. I'm like the worst when it comes to that. I don't really have a lot, but I guess just checking in with myself is the number one thing that I do for myself all the time.
Well, and that's really important too, because I feel like a lot of people shut off that part of their brain, or they shut off that inner guide because they're like, nope, I have to do things this way. And they're very black and white based on what other people's expectations are of them, versus just like asking yourself, like, what do I need right now? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? And this is something that I've experimented with in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, because you get thrown on this path where you're like, oh, I'm supposed to graduate high school. I'm supposed to go to college. I'm supposed to get a good job. I'm supposed to get a husband. I'm supposed to get, have a baby, have a house, like all of these like check boxes, right? Like you're just checking all the boxes, check all the boxes. But very rarely did I should say personally, ask myself like, oh, is this something that I really want to do? Or is this just something I think I should do? So I think checking in with yourself is crucial in terms of personal development, and knowing who you are, what type of person are you, what things do you like, So
and it's easy. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's also something that a lot of people miss doing, because our lives are so busy. Our day-to-day lives are just crazy busy. I think we get into that routine of just doing, kind of like you said about the check boxing, just check the next thing off your to-do list. And it's like, you're just checking them off just to say you check them off. And you're never just taking the time to, I don't know, enjoy the fact that you're alive.
Yeah. I say this all the time, like learning to like slow down and actually smell the roses, like one of the big things that I like to talk about is celebration, right? Like a lot of times we will hit a goal and then we're like, oh, boom, move on to the next goal. Oh, boom, move on to the next goal. And you're just constantly like hopping from goal to goal to goal. And it's like, okay, great. But why can't we embrace the journey? Why can't we embrace where we're at right now? Why can't we stop and have some fun? You're going to be that person, like you said earlier, where you're 65, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. And you're like, man, I wish I would have lived.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So what do you want? What's your biggest takeaway? What do you want our listeners to leave here with?
Oh gosh, I definitely want everybody to know that there is a different way to live your life. If you're frustrated, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling not in balance, exhausted, you don't have to live that way. When it comes to dieting and not anything food related, health related, just overall in life, you don't have to live life like a robot. there is a way to live life empowered, and you get to decide and you get to shape your life. That, I think, is the biggest thing I want everybody to know.
And you share a lot about that on your Instagram and on your podcast, right?
Oh, yes. We talk about everything. I mean, I am an intuitive eating counselor. I definitely talk about empowerment, but I like to go beyond food, because I think a lot of it ties into our life. And we need to just realize that we get to be in the driver's seat of our body and our health, but also our lives. And with society's pressures and diet culture pressures, it can be hard, it can be confusing, and it can be downright frustrating. So yeah, we talk about everything, all the tools, all the good stuff.
I love that. All right. So what's coming up next for you? What's your next step?
I am working on revamping and launching a new mentorship program. It will be a one-on-one format, but it's going to be where all the magic happens, and it's going to be really juicy.
Can you tell us when, or how do people get in contact with you for that?
It's going to be probably in the next couple of weeks. That's when we'll see the launch. But they can find me on my Instagram at the Amanda Murphy. That's where I'm most present, or they can visit the podcast, the Amanda Murphy Radio, for updates, because I'll be talking about it on the podcast as well.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Anything else you want to leave these guys with before we wrap it up?
Just that everybody has the power to decide their own life, and they're awesome.
I love that. And they're awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today. I really enjoyed this. And I love hearing a little bit more about intuitive eating and just empowering people to be themselves, and the journey back to who you are as an individual, as a person, without all of the labels, without all of society says this or this person says that, without all of the expectations. So I really appreciate your point of view and all of your insight on this.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So one more time for our listeners, what is your Instagram and your podcast? And then I will post all the links in the show notes so they can go head over and follow you too.
Okay. My Instagram is the Amanda Murphy, and my podcast is the Amanda Murphy Radio. It's on iTunes and Spotify.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys, for everybody tuning in. We will catch you on the flip side. Thank you for listening to the Confidence Coach podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I want to invite you to leave a 5-star review and share what you loved most about this episode. You can also screenshot and share it on social media. Tag me at sasha.davis. And if you're looking for additional resources, head on over to sashadavis.com. Check out ways that you can work with me and all the free resources that are available to you. Have a kick-ass day.